Hello, good afternoon. My name is Robert Schoenberger, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Industry Week. And welcome to Production Pulse. This is our first of what I hope to be a regular series of discussions with various newsmakers and people presenting interesting ideas in the manufacturing world. Today I have Bill Bellingham from Behrens Manufacturing and Behrens Metalworking. Behrens is the maker of lots of metal pails and buckets and garbage cans and all sorts of things made out of good old-fashioned metal. And we featured them back in January in an article written by our technology editor, Dennis Semeka. And what really attracted us to the article and what fascinated us about Behrens and Bill Bellingham is the work they're doing with automation. We hear a lot from technology providers about big automation projects where they go in and they put in 25 large robots into a factory. Or on the other hand, we hear a lot about people coming in with cobots and robotics as a service or some sort of lease model. What really fascinated us about what Behrens was doing was they were doing all the above at the same time, really reinforcing that idea that there is no one size fits all in manufacturing. So, Bill, can you kind of walk us through what you guys are doing over there? Tell us a little bit about the company and tell us about the major projects you were working on all at the same time.
Yeah. First and foremost, Robert, thank you for having us on today. As you noted, Behrens Metalware, located here in Winona, Minnesota. We're a relatively small company, right? We make millions and millions of products each year, but our products relatively low dollar value. We have about 150 employees on site here in our 80,000 square foot factory, located right on the beautiful Mississippi River, making everything from a 31-gallon trash can all the way down to a small little pail. Our automation journey really started in the fall of 19, when we said, okay, with rising labor costs, we have to do something to stay relevant manufacturing in the U.S. What was something? We didn't know at the time, but we knew we wanted to automate our highly repetitive, unsafe, dirty tasks that no one wanted to do. And that's really what we targeted. So in the fall of 19, we designed an automation cell that has two large FANUC arms in it and one 2-axis robot to make trash can covers for us. It makes 4 different sizes of trash can covers. We issued a PO for that, and that was installed in the spring of 21. Long design cycle. We had multiple delays in there. COVID hit. We had some part shortages. So that robot cell was installed in the spring of 21. Been a highly successful cell for us and has done really well for us. We realized, though, that we needed to continue on our automation journey or continue to drive our labor out of our product. As COVID hit, our issue didn't become our labor costs anymore. It became our lack of available labor to us. And we knew we had to replace that with machines that were always available. Rapid Robotics came into our picture, and we said, okay, we don't have cash to invest in industrial robots in all of our cells. We're a small company. We're not 3M. We're not Ford. We're not John Deere. We can't put robots across our entire factory. So the robot as a service really came into play to help us maximize our cash flow and work on minimizing not even the labor content anymore, but minimizing our open jobs. We still have about 15 open positions even as of today in our factory that we can't fill. We've been working on filling for several years now, not even months anymore, several years trying to fill these open positions. But these robots the cobots and the industrial robots have really filled job openings across our entire factory. So that kind of gives a little bit of our background. Here in some of these pictures, you can see the cobots that were installed in our factory. We have 4 of them running on our floor right now. These cobots were targeted in areas of a highly repetitive task, where we used to have an operator stand there and do the same task over and over, hitting about a 6-second cycle time. The cobot replaced them. These lines were running 3 shifts. So one cobot replaced 3 operators and really reduced that need to hire.
Right, and that's the number one concern we're hearing from so many manufacturers these days is just finding people, getting people into the factory, getting them through the training process. Now, talking about the 2 big projects you took on at the same time, looking at the big FANUC robots that you put in, Why was that the right choice for that line instead of going to something more like a cobot there? Can you kind of what was so special about that project that you really wanted to put that big installed robot?
Yeah, when we look at the big difference between robots and cobots, we know that cobots are relatively small and they're relatively slow compared to industrial robots. So when selecting, we always have to engineer our cycle time into it, right? The reason our industrial robots were the right fit for our cover cell was for two reasons. One was for reach. The FANUC arms can reach a lot further, and they also have a lot higher payload. We didn't need the payload, but payload becomes a factor when we engineer these cells. The other thing was speed. We wanted to make a cover every 3 to 4 seconds out of this manufacturing cell, and the cobot just couldn't move fast enough to keep up for us. So that's why we decided to invest, huge dollars into huge capital dollars into our cover cell. On the other hand, where we put the cobots in, we could move slower. Our cycle time allowed for that, and we didn't need a payload or a reach. Right, we could present the payload right next to a small short reach cobot. The cobot could grab it, perform the task, and then move it into an area or a finished area. With no issue, we could handle the short reach. So when engineering the cells, we want to make sure that we're aware of the differences between the industrial robots and the cobots. The other thing that really played into the picture and why we chose cobots in some of these cells was due to business conditions, right? Again, we're not a cash-rich company by any means. We have pretty strict capital budgets that we need to abide by. And to be frank, we didn't have the cash available at the time we put the cobots in. So paying for them as a service was really a huge benefit to us.
Now, on the training side, I mean, Dennis went into this in some detail in the article that you for the FANUC robots, you had to not only have them installed, you had to train a handful of workers. This is not a simple thing. It's not a turnkey type solution. Was there any thought that, well, now that we have some experts, why don't we just have them run this other project? How did that discussion take place when you started working with the as a service, now that you had some trained people in the company?
Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. When we put the FANUC robots in, we did send 4 operators to FANUC training in FANUC headquarters in Chicago to make sure that we could, maintain these robots, recover from crashes, and program them. And that was, a major cost to us. One of the huge benefits of the robot as a service, or the cobots through Rapid, was the minimal training involved. The HMI involved with the cobot, or the HMI that operates the cobot, is extremely intuitive. We have, our maintenance mechanics learn from Rapid's install engineers in a matter of hours. We can recover now from all crashes in a matter of minutes. It's very intuitive on a small iPad mounted right on the side of the machine. The other great thing that our cobots have going for us, or have going for Rapid, is they're all interconnected, right? And the Internet of Things has allowed us to do a lot of cool things with them. When we have a crash, Rapid's notified the install engineer that put them in for us. He can look and see on a live webcam what happened inside of the cell, what's going on in there, and he can call us and tell us how to recover. He can also move and care for the robot from his remote location in California too. So minimal training on the cobots was all that was required and needed, and we're really successful with that limited amount of training. The FANUC arms, we needed the training that we received in order to operate them and maintain them successfully. So two big differences there.
When you think about what you know now that you didn't know at the start of the program, so what would you have done anything differently? Would you have approached the 2 projects the same way you ended up doing so, or you had to do all over again? Yeah.
Another good question, Robert. If I had to do it all over again, I would have used the same solutions, right? Again, in the cover cell where we put in the big FANUC robots, we needed those for engineering reasons, right? We needed the reach, we needed the speed. And in these slower, smaller payload applications, the cobots were a good solution for us, or the right solution for us. The only thing I would have done different, there's a lot of hesitation with Rapid, right? Kind of an up and coming company, growing company. So a lot of uncertainty there that we had to learn about, right, as a company. I would have done it sooner, right? We purposely drug our feet there to kind of try to mitigate some risk or understand, what our risk truly was going into the partnership with Rapid. But I would have done it months and months sooner. And I referenced that in the article with Dennis. We should have jumped in sooner. It was a great solution. It really helped us out, and we're making a lot more product because of it.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that was mentioned, I mean, you are competing in a global market. I think you mentioned at some point that even no matter what you do, you're paying 5 times what can be done in Mexico, and there's easy access to our markets there. I'm sure this is the sort of thing that it's a constant fight to stay competitive in this landscape. How much do you think this really helped you, hold the line and really be able to compete in this market?
Yeah, the threat from Mexico is huge, right? They're not very far away. We don't have to ship them via container. Shipping costs are relatively low. And they have a lot less cost than us, right? We always talk about the labor costs because of the huge offset. We're paying $20 an hour, they're paying $4 an hour. But there's so many other costs in Mexico that we here in the U.S. absorb as overhead, where in Mexico they don't have. We talk about safety costs that they don't have. We talk about building costs that are much lower in Mexico. Electrical or energy costs are much lower, right? So all this compounds into our hourly rate here in our factory is much higher than anything in Mexico. So those costs are only magnified. This solution really helped us out, right? Not only can we keep our overhead low, right? We didn't have this major investment that we're trying to pay back through overhead rates. We're paying as a service, right? We're paying it at the same way as an employee, but it also drove our labor costs down because we don't have to have an employee, doing this job over and over and over again. So it was a double win for us. With the large FANUC arms, of course, we're absorbing some costs in there with depreciation and all that good stuff. But still another major win for us because of the number of hourly jobs offset, or that we didn't have to fill because of it. So a big win with both cells to try to compete with our Mexican competitors.
You mentioned earlier that it's been years now in some cases that some of these jobs have been open. Any movement there? I mean, we're still hearing, we do surveys, we talk to people. That's still the number one concern we're hearing from so many people out there.
Yeah, I would echo that. We here have been blessed by getting some immigrants in, right? We got some Afghan refugees working for us. We've had a really good immigration or a Mexican population coming up from Mexico, a lot of family involved there. So we've been really blessed with having a lot of immigrants join our workforce here, but still a major concern. So some of our employees have voiced concern about, a robot's going to replace my job. Absolutely not. We've had 15 plus openings since early 2020 that we have been unavailable or unable to fill. So huge concern of mine, right? This unskilled labor, availability. We've also now started to see some shortages in skilled labor, meaning robot operators, we can't get them. So we're working here to try to get some federal and state grants to fund our training of additional skilled operators, whether that's a robot operator, a robot mechanic, or straight maintenance mechanics, or additional engineers. So huge issues for us, unskilled and skilled labor, how we're going to fill our needs here.
It's such an intractable problem. I've made some presentations about this in the past year or so. About you look at the demographic trends. I mean, people were talking for a while that no one wants to work. The labor, the labor participation rates. We're actually back to pre-pandemic levels on a lot of these things. It's just we have fewer people in the workforce and more jobs available, and this 10 applicants for every job that we were experiencing a decade ago, it's the other way now, and it's not reversing anytime soon.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, automation, creativity, technology, everyone's going to have to consider these, including 100-year-old companies that might not have hundreds of millions of dollars to throw at every problem that comes their way. So.
That's right.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to add about these projects that you guys have been working on, or how things are going there in Winona?
No, I think the only point that I would emphasize is, you know, there's no canned solution for any problem for any manufacturer, right? And the engineering work involved in it is really critical to understand. Should we buy a dedicated arm that we need to invest capital money into, or should we invest in robot as a service? Because the solutions are different, right? We were able to pursue both solutions for different problems that we had across the factory, just because that's what fit us. But every problem and every solution is going to be a little bit different.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks to Behrens Manufacturing and Bill Bellingham. And from Industry Week, thank you guys for your time, and thanks for spending part of your lunch hour with us, or for those people in the Central and Pacific time zones. Thank you for spending some of your coffee break with us, I guess. We will be back in 2 weeks with the next edition of Production Pulse. If you have any ideas, any companies you'd like featured, or topics you'd like discussed, please send them my way. I'm be happy to include any topics that the audience finds interesting. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for your time.